Good morning and welcome.
Hello there. A very, very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise early this beautiful Thursday morning. I am Chamberlain Oso, reporting live from here in Abuja.
Well, first of all, you don't have to rub that in. I think I got ahead of myself right there. This is Lagos. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Yes, a stressful Lagos. All the same. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Well, we chose to live in Lagos.
You know, when you... yeah, and there you go. And you know, part of that is infrastructure. It's always a challenge. It's always a thing. And I don't know which part of the world that it is not. Well, I know that several others have developed way much more than others. But here in Africa, in Nigeria, we know that the rate at which population increases, it's always huge. And that will always happen. Population increase will always happen. And that points to the fact that there has to be requisite infrastructure development to match that. If not, you'll have that imbalance and you have challenges. It's a very basic thing. As much as it does sound basic, but that is not exactly the case. I do remember that sometime in May this year, the president is quoted to have said Nigeria needs about $11 trillion to bridge the infrastructure deficit or infrastructure gap in the next 10 years. So we've had different leaders at different positions say a similar thing in terms of how much we need to bridge that infrastructure gap. But the thing is, we also do know that we've got a challenge with leadership in this part of the world. And from my perspective, is such that a lot of what we see, a lot rises from leadership. I know it's something that we've talked about time and again. And I think it's even more apt now. I'm not saying that people don't have their responsibility. In fact, the people at this point in time have a huge responsibility because we are in that time where we all go out there to decide who leads us in the next 4 years at all levels, from the local government to the states, the councillors, the governors, the president. We all have, at the end of the day, to hold ourselves accountable if we don't get it right, because we see several things. Even times that certain funds are budgeted for certain developments, you all see and hear how they've been frittered away and mismanaged, and then you get to different places. So the kind of things that we see, I'm not sure we're satisfied with that. And so that call, it's all the more apt now because, yes, you guys, you highlight that particular scenario in Lagos where the road in Agege, it's a lot of headache, and not just that road. In fact, it's a typology of several other challenges that we face in different sectors of our society. How things don't just seem to be going right. Is it from how is it that you even acquire your license to ensure you have the right people who are on the roads and the right frame of mind? How is it that you acquire basic things, ensure that the right people are there to do what they have to do when they have to do it? Because if you don't get it right from the very minutest of items, you get to this kind of larger scenario because you overlook the little things. Look at the amount of time that you have to spend on the road owing to, in some cases, even in many cases, it's just a little hitch in some areas, and you see the huge tailback because of the amount of vehicles that have to ply the road at a certain time. So if that is not fixed, you waste a lot of time on the roads. And you know what they say, time is money, time is spent. So all of those things, they feed into the other. So we need to be able to rise above whether it's primordial sentiment or whatever it is to ensure we look at the big picture. It's about your life in the next 4 years. And you know how next 4 years could make or mar so many things. So I just think that if we get it right at that stage, the rest may just be piece of cake.
Well, Chamberlain, it all rises and falls on leadership, just as you said. That's from John Maxwell book of 2005. But you know, everything that rises and falls on leadership is about systems. For instance, the road that you just highlighted is just one of several in various parts of the country. That one that you mentioned, for instance, it's right under the, right there, the center of Agege town. And look at the road. The system around road maintenance is that it shouldn't ever get to that. And I don't know if the one at Mushin has also been fixed. It's as bad. I had reason to go to Songwater some 2 weeks ago, and the road under that, main overpass, at that Songo, bus stop is horrible, like absolutely horrible. And that's not to even talk about what my colleague has to go through every day, before she gets to the office. How she was able to get to work this morning, well, let's just call it ways and means. But, the issue here right now is, look at this. What is the system that is supposed to make sure it doesn't get this bad? What is the system around making sure that the roads are maintained, the people do what they need to do? You talked about, Chamberlain, the challenge of followership as well, and that's absolutely correct. But at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of certain officers. Let's drill down the local government system to ensure that the roads are not clogged. When they are clogged, they are cleared, and people are told, don't do this, or else these are the circumstances. One of the reasons that roads such as this at Agege, at Songo, Mushin, in Lagos that I know of, and in Ogun State, the neighboring state, and perhaps in your own locality, wherever you are right now, it's because the systems have failed. So who is going to jumpstart the system? It's definitely not the president or the presidency. It's the local government system. So who is making sure the local governments are not working, or not seeing to ensuring that local governments are working, so that these things don't continue to happen and we do not continue to celebrate this mediocrity? That is what I think the issue is here. You may want to share with us what roads in your area, in this country, that needs that kind of attention. Because at the end of the day, spending the money is good, getting the infrastructure is good, the systems to ensure that it works and is sustained, that's another thing altogether, Bukola.
Well, guys, you're very, very correct. It's a product of leadership, good or bad. And, it can't be said enough that sometimes state governments concentrate on state capitals, perhaps because it's a reflection of, how responsive the government is. But then again, that's just a veneer or a cover of what's really beneath. We identify with the people of Agege, Penn Cinema environs this morning. We feel their pains, particularly for those of us who have to go through hell every morning just to get to work. But that's child's play. That appears to me to be comfort compared with what travelers on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway have to go through now every morning just to get to work. The average travel time on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, from the Magboro axis, that's a town, off, one of the suburbs of Ogun State, to Baga, that's in Lagos, is about 5 hours. And there are alternative routes, that could have served as, options for travelers to, access at this time when the rehabilitation work is ongoing. But those travel routes are no-go areas right now. One, because the ground is marshy, vehicles could get stuck. They do get stuck. And then also because of the security concerns. But why has government not come to the rescue of travelers such that that can be graded and travelers can have an easy ride, to get to work and not have to go through hell? Imagine if you have to travel 5 hours just to get to work. You're not just thinking about delivering on the job, you're also thinking about you're preparing your mind, so to speak, about the number of hours that you spend in traffic. That leaves much to be desired. Quality of life becomes very, very low. The anxiety is needless. Besides Agege, besides Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, there are also other parts of Lagos that need attention, where infrastructure leaves much to be desired. Satellite Town is one, that can be mentioned at this time. Why has the state government not responded to the yearnings of those in Ainke Street? They would say that, of course, the articulated vehicles there, have to be taking off such that work can commence. But work can commence in other parts of that area. Look at Old Ojo Road, Alakija, where infrastructure has practically collapsed. Go to Navy Town and those other streets, adjoining streets, further down inside the Navy Town suburb. Infrastructure there is zero. And we have a functional state government. It's highly unimpressive, and it's not enough to concentrate on Ikeja and mainland Lagos, such that, you know, visitors can come and say that Lagos works. Go inside and you find that many parts of Lagos are not working. Chamberlain.
I guess we'll see. We'll take a look at the dailies. I haven't seen that because, I mean, you know what they say, that evil thrives when good men do nothing. Give us a moment. We will be back with a look at some of the... All right, take a look at Daily Times. That's the first one we've got for you here today. And the lead story on the front page is 2023. Elections may make or break Nigeria, Obasanjo warns. And look at the writer. Says, politicians capable of wreaking havoc, which could make or break the country. So, perhaps says be warned right there. And then at the bottom strip, Nigeria will save $350 million annually, create 110,000 jobs from sugar production. That is ascribed to the federal government. As FEC approves phase 2 of National Sugar Master Plan, OK's $580.5 million for NDLEA armored vehicles, 29.1 billion naira for roads, salt development projects, and it goes on. You know, I just sometimes wonder, at the FEC, this is most of what we hear happens from FEC. I'm not saying it's a bad thing in terms of contract awarding to see how things are developed, but I know there's been that argument before that it's just like a clearinghouse, that better things could be done at FEC and things like that before this government came in. But now we hear the same thing. So is it that that is our system, that is the way, unfortunately, things work, or that's the way it is for now until much later? If there is a plan, could we do something differently and get a better result? I don't know, just thinking. But that is Daily Times this morning, guys.
Well, very pungent issue that you raised there, Chamberlain. But hey, at the end of the day, they got a job to do. They have to do it. And the systems must work. This Nigeria seems to toe the same path as the Daily Times this morning. And it's the same comment ascribed to former President Obasanjo. 2023 may make or mar Nigeria. And the writer says tasks religious leaders against allowing politicians to wreck country. Find the details of that on the inside pages. And of course, right under the picture on the front page, Atiku unveils agenda, inaugurates campaign council. 5 PDP governors, Jonathan, others boycott event. What does that mean? The details you'll find on page 5 of the paper this morning. And right beside the nameplates, Serap's report reveals Niger Delta's deplorable condition. Talk about infrastructure, right? And here is one that has a full development commission to it. But what does that mean, really? Because the state governments also have their own responsibility in their respective states in the Niger Delta. The details you'll find on page 8 of this Nigeria.
From this Nigeria, let's turn our attention to Daily Trust newspaper, and it starts with politics this morning. A comment coming from the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and he says, "Race to presidency, I'm out to rescue Nigeria." That's the PDP presidential flag bearer speaking this morning, and the riders provide more insight. Wike, Makinde, 3 PDP governors absent at campaign launch. PDP remains strong despite doomsayers, Udom. And 18 presidential candidates sign peace accord today. Of course, the politics of 2023 is already taking shape. Let's go just beneath the nameplate, above the big story, to do a check on some more stories. IPOB kills 5 soldiers civilian in Anambra. Well, you find that story also inside Daily Trust. And just 2 more. Yobe North Court rejects Hamid Lawan, recognizes Machina. And lastly, NNPC others to raise gas use to 5 million tons in 3 years. That's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Take a look at Leadership newspaper next, and they've got, of course, a political headline as well. 2023 campaign kickoff. Presidential candidates sell their governance agenda to Nigerians. We've got a host of writers here. The first of which reads, PDP's Atiku promises industry prosperity. We'll watch word, no, it says, we'll match word with action. No more excuses. LP's Obi. And then you see, I'll reinvent MKO Abiola's Better Life program. SDP's Adebayo. APC holds prayers. Campaign kickoff date undecided. Candidates to sign peace accord today. Tinubu likely absent. Don't allow politicians wreck Nigeria. That's ascribed to Obasanjo. And so all of this, you wonder how the people will internalize all of this. How are the people taking this? Are they listening? If they are, what do they think? Well, ultimately, I think we'll know what they think come February. I know it sounds like a long shot. But for this particular scenario, which is above this list story, it's been on for a while, so this looks like a follow-up to that. Bagauda Kaltho's murder. Hamdallah Hotel says no records of ex-US envoy Hank's lodging. Mahdi Sheil claimed Kalto met Russell Hanks in his room at Hamdallah Hotel in December 21st, 1995, shortly before the Durbar Hotel bombing. So you see all of that just going back and forth right there in terms of what they make of that one. Yobe North, Lawan loses out as court affirms Machina as APC candidate. So that's Leadership today.
The Guardian newspaper is next, and it's also talking politics, but with special attention perhaps to one political party in itself. And this is what you have on its front page. Atiku canvasses unity as Wike camp shuns campaign flag off. I guess that paper is not ready at this time. But how about we look at the Nigerian News Direct for you? Nigerian News Direct has this one, also talking about presidential campaign council launches, still talking about the PDP. 2023, amidst crisis, PDP inaugurates presidential campaign council, vows to rescue Nigeria from bad governance. That's the lead of the paper with its the first rider, second rider, Wike, Autumn, Makinde, 3 other party bigwigs absent. That story is on page 10 of the paper this morning. Right above the nameplate, among other stories, Obidati 2023, court bans rally at Lekki Tollgate by Labour Party. But there is more to that, so you need to look on the inside pages to know exactly what that is talking about. And right under the picture on the front page, 2023 election, court seals Lawan's fate, declares Machina APC's candidate for Yobe North. And right under that one, Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio at 23%, below 40% limit, as ascribed to the DMO. What does that mean? We can still borrow more? I don't know, but the details you'll find on the inside pages of the Nigerian News Direct today.
I guess we'll get to know in due course. But what we do know from the front page of the Guardian newspapers is next. Of course, as you can tell, what we know is that Atiku canvasses unity as Wike shuns campaign flag off. That's the big story. Let's take a look at some of the riders this morning. Wike will remain in PDP to fight for inclusivity, to tell our own side of party crisis. Friday. There's more to come. NEC member reveals plots to unseat Ayu, derail Atiku's campaign. Bagudu, no cause for worry over postponement of APC presidential campaign. I will campaign in every part of Nigeria, says Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate. Obi meets Afenifere leaders in Ijebu, promises not to let Yoruba down. Falae Olajide Dawn, that's a development agenda for Western Nigeria, I believe, commission to kick against Afenifere. Yet again, the politics of 2023 is taking shape. Let's hope it takes shape in favor of the popular will of the people. There's another interesting story on the front page of the Guardian newspapers, and it's at the bottom strip. Your claims stand logic on its head. Akeredolu, the Ondo State governor, replying presidency. Well, it's rendered thus: replies presidency on use of AK-47. And that's, I believe, a page 6 read inside the Guardian newspapers. And you would see right on the front page there what looks like a rally in favor of Amotekun. You find the logo there, the leopard symbol of the Amotekun group, and of course the officials of Amotekun on the front page of the Guardian newspapers. And lastly, just one more story before we exit the Guardian newspaper. You find this one beneath the nameplate. It's the one in yellow projection. Adeleke alleges Oyetola plotting to plunge Osun into bankruptcy before leaving office. That's page 5 inside the Guardian newspaper. And I believe that ends the newspaper review this morning. Chamberlain.
Yeah, well, we've got a new Telegraph here as well. So might as well take a look at that. It's 2023, Wike, 4 PDP governors absent as Atiku flags off campaign, pledges to restore Nigeria's unity, address insecurity, other challenges, calls on PDP members to unite to win poll. And then you see the other rider. Why Autumn boycotted inauguration? I mean, there were some quotes attributed to Governor Tom when some papers had reported that he had jumped ship and things like that. So, but that is the big lead you got right here. And then you also see 2023 presidency. No ethnic group can coerce northern voters. That's ascribed to NEF. We all know what NEF is. So then you see, as Middle Belt unveils LP presidential candidate, running mate in Jos. LP will declare state of emergency on education, Abure. Obi Dati rally can't hold at Lekki toll gates, judge, tribe, religion-based campaigner, public enemy, DK. So all of that you see right here on the front page of the dailies today. So, well, October 3 is public holiday for those who can observe it, but we know we've got to be here, don't we? Well, that may be it for New Telegraph, but there is Vanguard here. We can move on to Vanguard newspaper. PDP campaign flag off. We must halt Nigeria's descent into anarchy. That is ascribed to Atiku. Nigerians more disunited now than during civil war. Launches 3 books, begs all PDP members for support. Says, I can't win elections alone. Ignore doomsayers, Governor Emmanuel. Aju, Wike, Makinde, Autumn absent. Why I didn't attend Atiku's book launch, Anyoku. Ikbazu didn't snub Atiku in Enugu, Abia PDP. So you have all that back and forth making the rounds here today. So, and then you also see 2023 at the bottom strip. Northern elders tackle Ohaneze, warns against demarketing Peter Obi. So that also featuring here. At the back page, confusion envelopes NFF elections. FG warns stakeholders to avoid contempt of court. FIFA, CAF observers arrive Nigeria. So at some point, some thought is put on hold because they want to respect court decisions, and now you're saying FIFA, CAF observers arrive Nigeria. So what becomes of all of this? That's why he says confusion envelopes NFF elections. You might want to go ahead and check that out today. So that is Vanguard Newspaper today, which I believe ends the look at some of the dailies here this morning. But we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
The political atmosphere in Nigeria has come alive as parties officially flag off their campaigns for the 2023 general elections.
We are doing so much preparing for this election, and I want to assure the people of this country, and the chairman has also assured the people of this country, that this election will be different, and we are preparing and preparing well.
The race for the top seat seemed more intriguing, with no less than 15 political parties in contest, as insecurity and economy remains in the front burner. Beyond the pageantry of the political campaigns, how these campaigns would move from the previously flagged hate speech to issue-based campaigns with clear political manifesto and a robust political debate would be a major task for the gatekeepers.
We are a party strongly determined to fulfill our dreams of turning Nigeria to a very progressive, highly developed, prosperous country.
A PDP government that I lead will work with the legislatures to restructure our federal system and devolve more powers to the states with corresponding resources.
I want Nigerians to hold me responsible and accountable if they do not start seeing visible, measurable changes if I'm the president of this country.
In the preceding days, the movement in this transition period has been largely driven by individuals and groups demonstrating their passionate support for their candidates with posters, branded tops, banners, and other scenic displays. With the umpire officially blowing the whistle for the campaign flag-off, some of the parties have already swung the political stage, drumming up support for their candidates, while some are still putting their house in order to fine-tune their campaign strategy. But the umpire would have to keep a close watch on the rules of engagement, especially the campaign spending limit of these parties. The pre-election poll has also triggered varied reactions amongst the parties, indicating a major upset in the political ranking.
Our polls, when it comes to pre-elections, have been really on the mark. I can cite a couple of examples, but yes, we have been on the mark most of the time.
As the campaign trains gradually drift to its rallying point in strong declaration of support for their candidates, the pre-election polls will remain a point of reference for many political bookmakers.
Public trust is essential for the deployment of electoral technology anywhere in the world. Because the whole concept of electoral trust is not blind trust. INEC needs to invest in building confidence on the BVAS and the IREV portal, because it can impact on citizens' participation.
But whether or not these predictions will translate into political reality come 2023 elections would be another turning point in Nigeria's electioneering. Benga Ashiru, Channels Television News.
But Eunice Tanko, who is the spokesperson of Labour Party, as well as Muazu Magaji, who is a former governorship aspirant for Kano State in the PDP. So both of them will join us today, but Mr. Nilu will make it tomorrow. He's not able to make it today. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning,
Thank you
for having us.
What a scenario we've got on our hands. So the gates are open. So yes, the campaigns have begun, as a matter of fact, from what the electoral umpire has said, and from activities that people have seen of your parties and other parties. So, but both of you have individual scenarios in your political parties that you have to deal with. But if I could start with you, Mr. Mogaji, yesterday we saw quite a lot going on. Even this morning, you could see the dailies. They can't just forget about how, in fact, maybe you should start with this. Yes, the book launch went, the flag off went. Wow, that's about, is that the largest campaign council membership so far in the country for all political parties, the one your parties have? How many, 500 or 600?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes, a lot, because of inclusiveness. It is important that, first of all, thank you for having us here, and good morning, listeners. It is important that we understand that where we are, it's a process that requires everybody to come on board. And if you look at PDP have ruled this country, and they have produced a lot of leaders and stakeholders who have influence, who have capacity, who have political pedigree that needed to be brought on board. And the strategy is also to make sure that the representation is all the way down to where the people are. We don't want to concentrate only stakeholders in Abuja, in the campaign council. And therefore, there are 2 or 3 tier level of that campaign leadership. There are the major stakeholders that are either contesting or leading the party. Then there are institutional stakeholders at the state level who have held positions, who are also aspiring for positions like governors and senators. And then we have political actors who are stakeholders, who have people who have done things before, or who have actively led people, and who have followers, and we brought them aboard.
But
so generally, it's an inclusive, very inclusive list that will basically bring politics to the
How
grassroots.
do you respond to all the reports about those who were not in attendance, who it appears as though they're not in agreement, or they haven't ironed out some of their issues, and so they couldn't attend the function?
So that's a process. It's a healing process. We've had the primaries, and we have had a very transparent televised primaries. We had a winner. It's a presidential system. It's a winner-take-all. It's not a parliamentary system where you sit down and share positions based on number of votes. Even if you lose this election by 1 vote, it is required of you to commit yourself to the success of the party, of the ticket, because it's the institution that dictates the rule of the game. Now we follow the rule of the game, and we have emerged successfully with a candidate. What is very important is we need to protect the institution. What they're asking is a treatment that will go counter to our constitution. And it is dangerous in a democracy. If you recall the history of this party, an individual has fought 3 chairmen of the party. An individual has installed and removed the chairman of the party. That individual cannot be bigger than the bigger party and the institution. We do not want to start this game, this journey, a very important transition, by breaking the law of not abiding by the rule of the game. This is important because if we succeed in taking over, or when we do, we want to make sure that Nigeria is a state rule based on constitutional provisions and rule-based system.
I know you know there'll be several perspectives as to who agree or disagrees with that.
No, I mean, the issue is simple. It's a healing process. We are following. If you look at the strategy of our candidate, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, he's engaging everybody and basically putting the argument on the table. It's not personal. There is nothing personal here. All we are saying is every stakeholder is important, including Wiki. He is a very important stakeholder in River State. But if he designs his own rule and it doesn't fit into the rule of the institution, then we cannot go by individual aspiration.
You know, the thing feeds, they say it's not just about that, designing his own rule, because he fed from something, how PDP initially jettisoned where they thought that it should have been zoned to the southern part of the country, but that's a different matter.
No, and let me address this quickly. The issue of zoning, you need to understand it's a PDP discussion. The last president of PDP came from the south. The next president of PDP is zoned to the north. There is nothing wrong with what we have done in zoning in our party. You cannot use other party. How many parties do we have to discuss?
No, it is
our
members
own
within your party who are saying that you jettison their agreement.
It's not jettisoned.
And they thought
His Excellency
that
Atiku Abubakar said if he becomes president from the north, the party chairman will go to the south. This is a very clear position. And he said even today, if IU decide, based on his 4-year mandate, to say, well, I am going, he will celebrate him, we will thank him, and then we'll discuss who will be the next chairman. But nobody, we're not putting guns on the head of people again.
They are saying,
one of those days in PDP.
They will say the question of if he decides shouldn't come in, because he already said that on more than one forum that he will step down if a northern presidential candidate emerges, and that has happened.
He said he is willing to step down, but he's not willing to be chased out.
No, he said he will step down.
He's willing. Let me say this. The agreement, when it was entered, was before IU became chairman. It was a party discussion. And when IU becomes chairman, he has a 4-year mandate. See, you cannot put a gun on a chairman. Gone are those days when you can come.
Nobody put a gun on his head when he said what he said.
What is happening now?
He said it on his own volition, that he was willing to step down. Did anybody put a gun on his head when he said that?
No, he said he is willing to, but don't twist me. I'm an elder, I'm a founder of this PDP. Do not twist me. He even made reference to people who were in school when he was already Senate President. And that is true. We need to understand that you cannot, in this game, based on constitutional rule, you cannot twist people. I am saying to you, gone are those days when you can put a gun on the head of a chairman of a party and say, right resignation. It cannot happen. You have to cajole and argue and make sure he sees the reason, and with due respect to him, that he can actually do this in the interest of everybody.
Well, they say your party finds it convenient now to say you can't put a gun on someone's head, because they remember that members of your party literally put a gun on former President Jonathan's head.
And that is what we don't want to do.
And they pulled on and forced his hand and made him lose that election.
Yes, but
and now they turn around and say, oh, you can't put a gun on their heads.
We didn't tell Jonathan to resign from presidency. We say we disagree with their decision to go, and we will force...
You're well versed in this politics. You know that you don't have to tell him. There are things you do that tells him that action speaks louder than words.
Jonathan couldn't manage that process. But
okay, let me bring in
All right,
Mr. Yunusa here. Because remember, when you say when you win, that's why I thought, oh, when you win, because they also vying for the same position, so they may disagree with you sharply on that when you say when you win.
I'm glad you hear when I said when, because it's a matter of time.
No, you said if and when.
That's correct.
You said if, then when.
Absolutely, thank
you. But for your party, people are wondering, what's going on with your own presidential campaign council?
Okay. Permit me to just first of all clap for the Nigerian people.
Oh, okay.
I clap for the Nigerian people for waking up from their slumber. What we wanted was to change the narrative from the kind of conventional politics that we used to have to a new political system that has generated so much love, concern, determination, and willingness to take back Nigeria. The Nigerian people have woken up from their slumber. They are determined to take back their country, and they have found favor in Peter Obi and Deti Baba Ahmed. With regard to your questions, there's nothing wrong with our campaign council.
Has it been inaugurated?
No, what simply happens is this. We are mobilizing. You can see the kind of love people are showing. People are coming in trooping. As I'm speaking to you, a lot of people are decamping from other political parties and joining Labour Party.
Including PDP?
More than even from PDP. In fact, PDP is all more or less a confirmed situation from those who are joining us. So, therefore, we must carry everybody along and make sure they have a place in the campaign council. But of course, it won't take more than what you expect. But one thing is sure, the love that was shown. Did you see what happened to us in Jos yesterday? People were on the queue 20 kilometers from the airport to the venue, and we have not kicked off campaign. What you saw yesterday...
So what was that?
No, it was not a campaign. What you saw yesterday was just an adoption and endorsement by the Middle Belt Forum.
But I thought the candidate was campaigning.
No. Well, of course, campaign started yesterday,
yes,
but he has to use that opportunity. What I'm saying, the flagging of our campaign, it wasn't. And a lot of people came in their thousands, or they queued up to show love. That is why I'm clapping for Nigerians, that this is what we want. We want to see double that number, because Nigerians are tired from all of these shenanigans and lies and jumping from one ship to another. Yes, some people may say that even our candidate, no. Our candidate is a person who has shown consistency in what he believes in. And that is what has resonated in what you saw in Labour. So today, for us, the campaign council is being modified almost at every second because we need to take everybody in. And in no distant time, the names will be released academically.
No distant time. When would that time be?
Oh, well, we are hoping within the end of, maybe by tomorrow or end of this week, but most likely it will not end, will not pass next week. Sure.
Next week, when? The end of next week?
No. Next week, definitely the list will be out.
But speaking about when you say people are decamping from PDP, Mr. Mogoji...
No, you said PDP. I said more than that. I said
no,
everywhere.
you said from political parties. And
yes,
I said, does that include PDP?
Yes, of course,
because
they are political parties, yes.
So, Mr. Mogoji, having said that, is that a challenge for your party?
I don't know. He brought PDP in, but I don't want to go into a tic-tac with my brother. He's my brother. We're in different political party. We're both from Kano. He's a very passionate young man. I always like to see young politicians that are on the stage. We're all grooming ourselves to take over. So we need to have some level.
But this is about winning the elections now.
We're going to win this election.
Oh.
We are going to win. PDP is going to win. Let me tell you why.
Going to Labour Party?
What they are advocating that is new, it's actually not new. It's repackaging. We are very glad that we have pedigree and records of candidates. All we need to do is go back to Anambra State and look at the 8 years of Peter Obi, and then the discussion will start from there. So we're not packaging things and giving a new Europea that is idle. Unfortunately, every time we talk about institution, they say people are the structure. This system is a democracy that is not ever based on an individual. You take Peter Obi out of this movement today, there will be nothing left. There will be nobody to rely on. There will be nobody to show any direction. This is not what Nigeria can risk. We have gone through this experiment before where a personality like President Muhammadu Buhari became the only discussion. And when he took over power, aliens that we do not know came in and became a completely different discussion. This is where we are today, and it's APC. This is what Labour is offering us as well, a personality, individual movement. We don't want to do that. I want to refer to you to where I started, where I say there are many institutional individuals in PDP. The pedigree of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar can be measured by his first 4 years as vice president, when he demonstrated commitment for a clear vision on the economic roadmap. As vice president and chairman of the Economic Council, he introduced economic reform that if we had sustained.
But it was, people will say, well, that is clearly the president who led
as vice president, he was chairman of the Economic Council.
Could he do anything on his own without the president signing off?
No. The president did what he did. But I'm saying there is a record to show his direction. There are two different directions in Obasanjo's administration, first term and second term. And in the first time, he gave his vice president the power and the mandate to chair the Economic Council and introduce economic reforms that will have alleviated a lot of the challenges we are facing. Everything Atiku has proposed is what we are now struggling to do without the competence and the capacity and the knowledge and the vision to put it to a successful conclusion for the benefit of the people.
Okay. Is that right?
Well, interestingly, Magaji here is my very good brother, and I would have loved to say that he will have been with this particular, because his brilliancy does not belong to where he is, with all due respect. He's so brilliant to a point that he's supposed to be with us. He's supposed to be with us, because what he has, and we alluded to, Peter Obi is not a single person. He's just mentioned 8 years of good service to the people in Anambra State. Is it in terms of security, with Peter Obi synergized with the likes of the Nigerian police force, giving them vehicles? Is it in the light of power supply, where he got transformers and built for make sure that the people have them used? Is it in terms of education, where he had to connect with the students in the schools, having their phone numbers? Is it in terms of social infrastructure, where he has hospitals or school or working place, the secretariat, and all of those ones that he has done? Or is it in the terms of the prudency of amount that he has left for the people of Anambra? These are some of his virtues. These are some of his records. And then these particular records were what were showcased that makes it resonate with the Nigerian people. And I want to make this distinct clearly. Peter Obi is not single. It's not like Buhari's issue. And I give facts. The Labour Party belonged to the Nigerian workers, the TUC and the NLC. And they have not shined away from their responsibility. You just saw our retreat. The Labour president was there, Ayuba Waba, giving strength and coordination to it. The TUC president, Festus Sifu, was there, giving strength to it.
All right.
Professor Pat Tomi was there. And let me conclude here. The document that will guide our principle, the manifesto that will guide our principles of working materials for us, is a working document both from the Nigerian Labour Congress, which is the Charter of Demand, and then the transformational agenda that belongs to the TUC. All of these documents are going to be conceptualized into the Labour Party manifestos.
There are more questions for you, but I hope the voters are listening. You keep hearing them say, they're my brother, he's my brother. I hope you're paying close attention to all of that to see how this is playing out. Well, guys in Lagos, go ahead.
Well, it's a good place to even begin that conversation, Chamberlain, because it's sounding like, well, the two brothers are there. Are they representing the same interest in two political parties? Well, that's not the question. Let me begin with Mr. Tanko. From what you said, one of the last comments that you made about your candidate, that, you know, he had a very successful 8 years and all of that. The question a number of people might want to ask you is the proof in leadership studies that the success of a leader is in his succession. It's in how well whatever he did while in office was sustained. And looking at the records over the years in Anambra State since your candidate left, you know, the governor's seat as the chief executive of the state, there are those who would question, well, things would seem to have gone lower than when he was in office. Was it just for himself or for the state for sustainability? So it's not just getting it done, it's also being able to sustain it. How do you respond to those people?
Well, we thank God that you alluded to the fact that our principal has been confirmed to have done exceedingly well in Anambra State. And that, of course, we are hoping that
along
the person
that same
that
line.
took over from him will have done double in that. But unfortunately,
that is what you said. I'm just repeating what you said. So I'm just saying that
yes, no.
Those who say that it's not sustained after him, insecurity has risen since he left office, and a number of other infrastructural gaps have been noticed after he left office. How do you respond to them?
A man can even give birth to a child and hoping that that child will take over from what he has left. And then the child will end up becoming a kind of a disappointment. It does happen. And of course, this is the situation that you may have found in the next move. But the truth about it is that we are talking about the man, where he performed, what he did to the people, how he connected with the people, what he did for the people, and the records are clear. And so would you now hold him responsible for the mistakes or probably the malfunctioning of his own successor, even though he has left him every tool for him to perform exceedingly better than him? And I don't even think that the people will link this particular issue of the successor to Peter Obi. Every day people speak about Peter Obi as regard to what he has done for the people of Anambra, and that, of course, what he has resonated with him and the Nigerian people. So in that regard, our principle is completely different from what the successor had done. And if you give him the opportunity again to take over the mantle of leadership of Anambra, he will have even showed you what he had done and even do better than in that regard. But of course, that's why we are heading higher.
Okay. Well, let me come to Mr. Magaji for now. There are more questions for you later, Mr. Tanko. Well, Mr. Magaji, there are those who would also wonder. I mean, you said just a little while ago that your party is not really placing much emphasis on an individual in this regard. But then there will be questions as to the efforts your party candidate has made to get into office. It would seem like it's just for him an ambition, as opposed to something that he really wants to do to help Nigeria get better. Now, there, of course, it's an easy reference to the current president as well, but your candidate has gone from party to party just to get to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Sometimes he got the candidacy, sometimes he didn't get the candidacy, but he never stopped. So how is this not an ambition for him that is being supported by your party, being the only, perhaps the strongest of the people that can contend for the office of president from your party?
Thank you very much, and good morning to you out there in Lagos. I want to say that what you described is called determination to serve. The determination of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar as a Democrat needs to be traced back to his roots and where he came from and what institution. I keep referring to institution because, you see, people need to have pedigree. We need to trace the pedigree of people to know what their antecedents are and how we will predict what they could do. Atiku Abubakar is a true believer in democracy. He has gone through so much challenges to sustain this institution. He has made a lot of sacrifices. He has teamed up with very good national actors and advocated for return of democracy since the days of the military. He has invested himself, his time, his resources in ensuring that democracy survive. He is one of the most credible Democrats we have in the country today. There is no need, there is no use, there is no outcome if you are a player in a democratic space and you have not made yourself available for service, if you believe that democracy is a vehicle through which succor and comfort and services can be rendered to people. Atiku Abubakar, since he left his job, has committed himself to this service. The vehicle through which this service can be provided, he has demonstrated, is at the zenith of this country. He has grown, gone through various stages of aspiration. The political parties in this country have been changing themselves, but PDP has been the one that has been consistently intact since 1999, since the return of democracy. And Atiku Abubakar, as a founding father of this party, is back in this party and is available at the top of the ticket for service to the country. It's a shared determination. You can interpret it as personal, but believe me, I can tell you, there is nothing left for Atiku to aspire for in this life. He has everything except to give his very best to Nigerian people. So I will say this. We need to understand that the person who believes in the principle of democracy will protect, project, and promote that democracy. And that is why we are comfortable that Atiku Abubakar is leading us to aspire for this office. And not only that, he has rolled out a vision that clearly differentiates him from the current government. The current government promised change, and they came and they did not change anything. In fact, we can argue that they changed things for the worst. All key performance indicators of governance have gone negative, way down. So what Atiku Abubakar is saying is, he has been part of what PDP has been able to achieve, which we underappreciate, but he is one of the best that designed and sought the best capacity. One of his pedigree is his ability to look out for talent, for capacity, and bring it into the country. The best performance we have today in the country can be traced to the scouting initiative of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. Even the way he ran his campaign, now you can see that he does things on time, on schedules, without a rolling back, without any changes, because he takes his time, use expert, and bring capacity to plan. Okay. We are the first to do everything, whether it is INEC, whether it is campaign council, whether it is program. PDP is always the best, and when we roll it out, we don't pull it back.
Well, there are more questions, Mr. Magaji, as to, concerning the candidates of your party, but we'll take that on more when we return from this break for a few messages. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. I want to stay with you, Mr. Magaji. Well, You, in response to Chamberlain's questions earlier, spoke about the 8 years of your candidate as vice president. And of course, I remember Chamberlain also asking you if it was possible for him to have done anything without his principal, President Obasanjo at the time, signing off on it. But you'd also recall that a number of times, a good number of times, former President Obasanjo has repeatedly said that he does not, he didn't particularly enjoy, working with the vice president at the time. As a matter of fact, earlier this year, he said choosing him as vice president was a mistake. I do not recall him reversing that statement at any given point in time. So how then would you say that, given what the records of his principal about him, how then would you say he's the person that Nigerians should vote for when the person he worked with as president doesn't particularly recall him being a good enough vice president for him?
I have to trace the history of where Obasanjo and His Excellency Atiku Abubakar relationship got soured. Like I've said, I made reference to his record in the first term of the administration. And if you understand, when the transition in 2003 came for them to seek for re-election, there were divisions between the civilian Democrats and the pseudo-military Democrats. And that division led to endorsement of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar as a candidate that will contest and challenge His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo. And that was a purely democratic civilian exercise. But that didn't go down well. We all knew the history and how Obasanjo basically got back to the ticket. Even his pleading with Excellency Atiku Abubakar, and a lot of stakeholders prevailed on Atiku to step down. And he did that. But as a military person, I believe, I have no facts, but I believe sincerely it didn't go down well with Obasanjo, and he felt slighted in that relationship. And from then on, the relationship got soured. So I will not put my bet or anything on what Obasanjo say on Atiku because of that history. I will say that let us look at what Atiku has achieved in the first 4 years of the administration that Obasanjo has never complained of, that Obasanjo has relied on His Excellency Atiku Abubakar to bring in the best possible hands that we now today know in Nigeria, that Obasanjo has relied on Atiku to roll out an economic reform program that he has rolled out, and a privatization program that, without disruption of His Excellency Obasanjo himself, could have successfully transited this economy to a very prosperous free market enterprise and remove the corruption that became endemic in the public sector. And the reversal of some of those decisions by Obasanjo himself led to returning of most of the assets and most of the strategic assets in the hand of people that were picked or handpicked by Obasanjo himself. So it wasn't a process that was implemented thereafter transparently, and therefore all the accusations we were getting in the days of Obasanjo could be traced to the second term and the decision to reverse some of the policies that Atiku rolled out to have a private sector in a transparent coordination take over the economy and drive it for the prosperity of 200 million people. There is no way government can provide for 200 million people without activating the innovative productivity of the private sector. So it's a symbiotic win-win relationship between government and the private sector and the people. The social contract Atiku Abubakar rolled out today could be traced back to his antecedents in that first term. So I will say to you that honestly, Nigerians are not unaware of the relationship and therefore are not unaware of the very desperate attempt of His Excellency Obasanjo to stop Atiku Abubakar from also attaining the highest office in the land. So I will not go by that. And besides, honestly, I will say that Obasanjo has given us everything he has. He should just allow us to transit this country to a democratic leadership that will reform the economy, will reform the social services in terms of education and healthcare, and will secure the country and also restructure this country. These are economic
All
and
right,
social
Mr.
and
Magaji,
political
before you
agenda
begin to
His
talk
Excellency
about
Atiku rolled out.
restructuring, let's review social contract yet again. But by going down memory lane, I'd like to come to you now, Mr. Tanko. So much has been said about your candidate's performance while he was in office. But let's go down that road by reviewing the failure to conduct local government elections for nearly 7 years of his administration. And we all know that local government elections, the conduct of local government elections, the commitment to governance at the local level is at the heart of credible, accountable, and transparent leadership. But if he failed to conduct local government elections while in office, how can he then be trusted to commit to credible and accountable leadership if elected president in 2023?
You agree with me that during those particular period there were also problems as regard to who conduct local government election. Is it the state electoral commission or INEC? And so those issues were kind of issues that have actually affected this particular conductor of local government election. But of course, he didn't wait for the local government election, but he has people who are responsible for those local government. That is the reason why you saw the performance trickling down to the local government. There was direct effect on the people of Anambra. There was no single complaint because he didn't want to be bedeviled with the particular bureaucratic system of who conduct what or what not. But at the end of it all, the elections and the people were represented during that particular period, effectively represented. For the first time in the history of any Anambarian, you can confirm from the ground level. I was there. I was an IPAC chairman, and at that time, roads were built, about 900 kilometers of road were networked from every local government. Bridges were built. They were networking from every local government. Farmers who belonged to the local government were able to network and mobilize and move their goods and materials. In fact, at a point in time, Anambra was adjudged to be the best network of roads in Nigeria as at that time. And so these are the actual work that was done in connection with the people that were appointed to take care of the local government. And eventually, it worked well for him. If he had waited for that particular, the effect that you are expecting wouldn't have been seen. And so therefore, there was no ambiguity in any way as regard to his performance with the local government because they were there and the people who come from the local government were the one administering most of the work that
Mr. Tanko, you said there were problems with the appropriate agencies to conduct elections at the time. Can you please clarify that? And while you're doing that, is this something that couldn't have been resolved in nearly 8 years?
Even as we speak to you right now, that particular issue is still on. The issue of INEC, people are proposing that INEC should be the one that will conduct local government elections, and then there are some people who are feeling that no, the SEC or the state commission should be one that will conduct election, and that will have led a lot of legitimacy problem as regard to those who will be in position of power. And so therefore we don't want to be bedeviled with that particular issue, but we went straight to work, and then the effect of what was done was what was achieved.
All right. Your candidate also commits to turning Nigeria from a consuming nation to a producing nation. What's the clear-cut action plan to achieve that?
Okay. It is important for us to note that Peter Obi has been able to elucidate and amplify on the issue of consumption to production, knowing fully well that we are so dominant in the oil sector as our way of generating funds for the country. He was traveling from Maiduguri, that's Borno State, to Abuja. And then he saw the vast land in the Nigerian, in the northern part of this country. And he said, well, so in that case, the wealth of this country actually is in the north. And that is in the agricultural sector. And when you engage in agricultural sector, it simply means that a lot of our youth, especially those who are capable and willing in the north, will be transformed into working tools that will enhance their economic well-being, produce for the nation, and make the Nigerian people a producer nation. And he also clearly exemplified Niger State as a state that constitutes more than a landmass of Netherlands. And then he said, in that place alone, Niger State alone can continue to produce very commendable goods and properties that will be used in turning the economic situation of this country. And interestingly, do you know that a single production that will come out from Niger alone can take care of the payment of salaries and wages of all of the issues that have been raised by ASU? Because we are not thinking outside the box. Now here you have somebody who has the opportunity and idea to think inside the box, outside the box, around the box, on top of the box, and under the box, to give Nigeria what it needs. And that is the reason why our campaign and the kind of person that Peter Obi is organic. There is no household that you go today that you will not meet an obedient. No household. I challenge anybody, because they are affected economically. They are affected educationally. They are affected security-wise. They are affected in terms of their social connection with the Nigerian people. And that is exactly what Peter Obi is going to take away. And that is why you see the humongous support that we are getting from the Nigerian people.
Mr. Tanko, you make it sound... You make it sound really easy. I wonder how that will be achieved amid, meager resources and competing needs from, most of the ramifications of life in the economy. Let me come to Mr. Magaji as we take a look also, with a view to going back way down to the primaries, the presidential primaries and national convention of your party. Your party has gone ahead to launch its campaign despite the opposition of some who are demanding that your party chairman steps down. He says, and he's had quite a lot to say in recent times, that your candidate promised him the VP slot, went back on his word, promised that the national chairman would step down upon his emergence as candidate, but went back on his word. And the national chairman also committed to stepping down also if a candidate emerges from the north. Having said that, and that has gone down, how do we now entrust the mandate of the Nigerian people to leaders from your party who cannot commit to their word? They haven't come out to deny any of this so far.
So thank you very much. We need to understand that this is not a personal property. I keep referring to the institution. There is no way, we do not have evidence, and evidence has not been presented, that an individual will say, I've closed door with a presidential candidate and say to me, look, I'll give you my vice president. The vice president pick is a prerogative of the candidate, and it's a process. There was a process that was also rigged. Now, one of the fear is if an individual will be going behind a structure and institution and rigging the system to get what he wants, then we cannot trust also the same individual as a principal actor on the commonwealth of Nigerian people. I want to say clearly that when the committee was set up to pick, when the process, I want to say this is, first of all, I want to reiterate that there is no evidence that Atiku has promised Wike the vice presidency. Wike is a stakeholder, and everybody that has importance is important in this delivery of this ticket. A process was initiated, just like I keep saying. It's not an individual thing. The committee was set up to screen candidate and make recommendations to the presidential candidate to pick his vice president. Nobody gave the mandate of picking the vice presidency to any committee. It's a screening process, and it's a recommendation that they should make. Nobody asked the committee to say, bring me a vice president. It doesn't work that way in a presidential system. So what I meant by rigged was the process turned out an individual who later we come to understand that he lobbied this committee to get his way.
It was all the northern affair with the PDP. The presidential ticket was amongst them, and so people thought, what do you call that if that is not zoning? And then when you talk about former presidents also signing off on certain things, and then about certain policies that, how the vice president's role in the president coming to power at the time. So many thought, oh, so does that mean that what Atiku did to Obasanjo is what he's getting back now? So several permutations just seem to be playing out. But concerning voting and presenting your candidate and your party's plans to Nigerians, why do you think that Nigerians will want to go back to your party, especially when your party has been there. They've seen what your party can do. They've seen what Labour Party can do. Why should they go back to them? Why do you think that they will not want to try the Labour Party, who they say, look, well, after all, we've seen what these two can do. Why not Labour Party?
So when my good friend here was talking and Madam said, sounds very easy, it scares me too, because that was exactly how APC came into power. APC came with such promises of change that we believed them. Running this country is not easy. Holding Naira to 196 to $1 for 16 years is not easy. Keeping the price of bag of rice at 17,000 is
wasn't
not
for
easy.
16 years. It was
Keeping
way
the
lower
ticket,
than that.
let me say this.
Something
Let me
say
this.
Then rose to 196
Let me say
or
this.
thereabout.
We all have what is called the key performance indicators where PDP left, and we thought we were not doing well. We even got convinced as PDP to join into the merger. We formed new PDP and then joined into the merger to bring about the change. Why is the change today? Ask every Nigerian what has changed in his life. You will find out that it is a negative change the Nigerian people are going through. I am saying to you that the fact that we've been able to keep this country where it was for 16 years, and now we have experienced driver coming on board who participated in that process, that can fine-tune that process and optimize it.
Can you say you actually kept it for 16 years? Because don't forget, it was frustration and anger that made Nigerians try another party at the time.
Today we know better. The frustration was insecurity. Today we know better. The frustration was economic problem. Today we know better. The frustration was exchange rate. Today we know better. The frustration is our educational system. Today we know better. The frustration is healthcare. We're even told that nobody should go out to seek for health attention as a government official. Today we know better.
Okay, so
every single promise has been broken and not delivered because there was no capacity, there's no plan, no vision. PDP had a plan. We are only transiting as an evolving democracy, and we need somebody who has been part of that process, who has the experience and the capacity to demonstrate himself in public and private sector to come back and drive us back to where we were and then optimize it further.
With all due respect, had it been that the PDP had done so well, the APC wouldn't have kicked it out. If they had done so well, with all due respect, they would have stayed in power, been in power the way they have always been bragging at that time. But nothing of that nature came in. The Nigerian people were frustrated, were disappointed with the way in which governance was being led at that particular point in time, including those who were in government at the time who are reincarnating to look for power today, with all due respect. So therefore, there is no correlation whatsoever as regard to performance of PDP at that time. In fact, there's a point in time in which I was on this station where I was asked that, what is the APC bringing on board? Why would they be in power? If they had performed very well, the APC wouldn't have. And the truth about it is that when the APC took, which is a conglomerate of the mixed bag that we saw, the disappointment become more doubled. And if you ask, as he asked, that I made this look so simple, believe me, today, the people that own the Labour Party are the Nigerian workers. Those that will perform this particular magic are the Nigerian workers. And they are saying that this is their own party. I can assure you, the issue of ASU or any other strike that has taken over in this particular country will not last more than 1 day under the leadership of Labour Party.
But if you say it's Nigerian workers, people that own the party, people who will move the needle and things like that, beyond the candidature of Peter Obi and Mr. Dati, who else is there for Labour?
Who else? The people are there. Do you know what's going on right now? The people are already building their own set group around each of the polling units. As we speak to you now, the Nigerian people, what you saw in Jos was not sponsored by anybody. It was the people by themselves. And you are saying who else? The people are the ones that own the democratic system. In democracy, it's the people that lead democracy. It is the people that own democracy. The common person on the street that you see is more important to us than somebody that has a humongous name. A barber, a bricklayer, a motorcycle bike man, or a seller in the market. To us, those are the important people because it affects them directly. You know, and they are ready to change the dynasty. I give you an example. When you are doing it probably in a compound, when you wake up in the morning, probably in a week time, you are going to the house, you see it dirty. But in 2 days, if you now say everybody should come and work together and clean that particular compound, the next day you will see it looking beautiful. Exactly what the Nigerian people are trying to do. They are trying to clean up all of this rubbish, all of this particular mudsliding and backbiting, all of these shenanigans and deception that are already taking our market space. They are ready to take back their country together.
The question stems from people being used to the fact that after they vote the presidential candidates, they look at the governorship candidates, they look at the senatorial, and trickles down, because that is a structure of governance that you need to deliver and move the country forward.
That's right.
But in this case, are you telling us that after they vote the presidential candidacy or whichever party, then you have supporters of the Labour Party or voters who will go ahead and vote for governorship in that order? Because if your candidate wins, you will need that same system to deliver.
Oh, sure. We are going down the line. We're not only stopping in the presidential election. We have governors, we have state assembly members who are running for election.
But when he says this looks easy, too good to be true, he perhaps feeds also from the fact that who are those that have done it before that will do it here again? What makes them think that they can pull it when these other parties seem to be entrenched in the system already?
You don't need those who have done it before. They have done it badly. That's why people are not happy. You need new people who have the capacity to show capacity, and they have the Nigerian workers to support them to achieve what they want to achieve.
But can you buy experience?
Oh, of course, experience is needed, and that is the reason why you have a backup.
What's the backup?
The backup is the Nigerian workers. The TUC and the Nigerian workers, the trade union and all of those that are experienced people, they are the backup. Because when you want to, like for example,
are all of them going to vote? But you have Nigerian workers who are members of APC, PDP, SDP. So why is the Labour Party trying to claim all Nigerian workers?
And you will not blame those particular people at that time. The roof was off at that time, but the roof is back now. They own this particular house now, and they cannot pull their roof. That is why we are leveraging, and we are so sure, because the confidence that was given to us by the TUC and the NLC supporting us, believe me, I understand the simple fact that some of them have faded away because of various interests. But now everybody is coming back. I have been with the Nigerian Labour Congress meeting where the Commission for Nigerian Political Party Commission was called. Every state, every local government is being moved into this particular movement.
The Labour says they will give Labour Party 12 million votes. From where?
Did you know the total number of the Nigerian workers?
Who have they given even 5 million votes before?
That is given.
Yeah,
but this time
have they done anything before?
No, this one they are owning it. This is the difference now. That is where they
are
owning it.
Why didn't they say they own 5 million, 10 million, but 12 million?
That is what
even President Buhari that had 12 million, you know there was a record of consistency with those kind of voters. So where will this 12 million come from?
The record of even the registered voters as of today, even the new one was about 12 million. Out of that particular 8 million, out of the particular record, 8 million belong to the age group of 12, 18, and 35. Now, remember, INEC has 96 combined, but before there were 83. So 12 million out of 96 million, how many is it?
So where will PDP's votes come from then?
Believe me.
Let's
We have 94 million registered voters. We have an institution that is all the way to the grassroots and the polling units. We have people who have done things in their life. We have people who are respected in their community. And we have a political party with a structure. We will get this election over and we will win it. But let me say this. When the campaign proper starts, we will start asking questions on the idealistic approach to some of the things I'm hearing today. Labour Party everywhere in the world, it's a progressive, middle-class party. It's a party that caters for the ordinary people. And today, I want to question the record of Peter Obi and Dati as a labor unionist or as a progressive activist. These are super capitalist individuals with the record of capitalist activities. When you talk about production and you are basically one of the highest importer of consumer product, how will I believe you? When you talk about ordinary working class individual and you have a university that even permanent secretary cannot take his child to. How can I believe you?
So,
gentlemen, let us start this campaign, and we will
things.
have a discussion on what is real.
Will these things matter to the rural voters?
Fallacy. You say?
Will it matter to the rural voters?
The point I'm making is simple. If we are claiming things, we have to back it up by reality. And this is what the campaign will be about. We will question, scrutinize the records of individuals. PDP actors are on the table to be seen. We have seen them. We know their weaknesses. We know their strength. But we cannot, as Nigerians, be hoodwinked by promises of utopia. I have said this. CPC and APC, and CPC transited to APC, and it came with this type of utopia. And we got hoodwinked. And now we are paying a heavy price for 8 years. Please, let's go back to where we came from. Let's go back to experience. Let's go back to pedigree.
We're winding down, gentlemen. So could you tell us briefly then, what is the ideology of your party?
The ideology of our party is a democratic center-right party that believes in an enterprise-based economy that can promote the social welfare and distribute wealth through a coordinated activities of security, social services, economic policies, and most importantly, also diverting the sources of corruption from government to private owners that can generate jobs and opportunity for others that own the business that cannot waste it. Today, endemic corruption is sustained because the government controls spaces and clan relationships lead to appointment that bring corruption in the system.
Okay, clearly, of course, well, for want of time, we can't interrogate some of them, but there are several questions about that.
Very important. Please, before we go, unity of this country is at stake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we'll come to that.
We will have to look at our agenda for unity.
Yeah, we will come to you, hopefully, if we still have the time. But in addition to your response, what is the ideology of your party?
Oh, social democrats, belonging to the people, owning the system by the people. The people own the system. And that is why you are seeing it resonating. They are the one that on the document of the Labour Party clearly, number one, states that the party is a social democrat, meaning that political party that belongs to the Nigerian people. Nigerian workers. Everything that is done about the Labour Party is the ownership of the Nigerian, and that is what democracy is all about.
Is that different from the SDP?
Of course, it's different from the SDP. It's different from the SDP.
Social Democrats.
They claim to be social democrats, but this is clearly distinction, and we don't do any ambiguity or names calling to that we can carry everybody along. No, it's one social word. And that they belonging to the people. The Labour Party belongs to the Nigerian people. And let me clear this particular issue. As regard to the issue of probably super capitalists, these are people who have invested and give hope to the Nigerian people, and they have employed Nigerian people as workers. As we speak today, DETI has just completed a state-of-the-art hospital in Base University. Now, the question you want to ask is that, does this simply mean that because you are a Nigerian, and Nigerians do not deserve quality health care? I'm asking, the one that every one of them run from here to Dubai every now and then to take care of them, we are saying that we are bringing it home. Is that capitalist? No. Peter Obi is a progressive person, production-minded person who is interested in building the Nigerian people and providing them the opportunity to think and learn. When he was in Kano, the first place where he went, he told everybody there that I am a trader and I started from Kano.
Okay, let's get your closing thoughts. What is your point about unity of the country?
One of the great brand of my candidate is the unifier. The reason is simple. There is no way you can attach original sentiment or any fault line to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. All the three major candidates behind him have at some point been associated with regional agenda, whether it is Northern agenda or Eastern agenda or Western agenda. There is only one candidate who has no regional agenda but a Nigerian agenda. The country is already so much split because of policies of APC and some of the very skewed appointments.
But now some Nigerians think, well, the region is currently occupying the presidential slot. Why should they give it to that same region again?
Which region of the 6 geopolitical regions, the Northeast, has produced Prime Minister last?
No, I'm talking Northeast. About the extraction of the current president.
The extraction of the current president is from the Northwest. Northwest do not even have a candidate or a deputy today. We deliberately skipped that region for social justice.
From the Fulani tribe?
Yes.
And Atiku?
No, I mean, look at it this way.
And so people think,
we have 6,
why should we continue that way? We have several others in this country.
We have 6 geopolitical zones, and we have...
I mean, your party has a right to choose who they want.
No, what I'm saying is
when you present to Nigerians, they look at the bigger picture.
That is correct. The bigger picture is simple, that Nigeria has 6 geopolitical zones, and each zone has positioned itself to provide leadership. And all I'm saying is there is one candidate that represents all of these 6 zones, and it's Atiku Abubakar.
Chamberlain, and I'm speaking to the Nigerian people, please, in terms of the issue of unity of this country, please and please, in fact, it would have been very, very elating for anybody who is interested in this unity of this country should have even stepped down for Peter Obi. And I say this with all of fact. 1, the issue of civil war has been deviling this country for a very long time. This is the best time to nick it on board and finish it once and for all. The issue of agitation that was being led by a certain group of Nigerian people up to tomorrow, this is an opportunity for us to close that particular gap. And there's no any other person, with all due respect, Peter Obi has never been a regional candidate. But as it is now, it's a child of necessity. And as a child of necessity, this is an opportunity for every Nigerian who wants the unity of this country to actually support the candidacy of Peter Obi for unity of purpose and making Nigeria stay together as one. I can assure you that today, if Peter Obi becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you will not hear any agitation about disunity of this country.
Well, we'll hear from Nigerians eventually, because they are the ones who will determine how things turn out. But we have to thank both of you for coming on. Muazu Maguji, former governorship aspirant for the PDP in Kano State, a member of PDP. And then Yunus Otanko is a member, the spokesperson of the Labour Party. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will be back in a moment.
In the suits they filed before the court, the plaintiffs, 10 legal practitioners, are seeking an order of interim injunction restraining the Labour Party, its presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi, his running mate Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, a 4th defendant, the national chairman of the party Julius Abure, their associates and loyalists from conducting the scheduled Obi Dati 23 for whatever rally on the 1st of October or any other subsequent date at the Lekki toll gate. The plaintiffs are also seeking an order of interim injunction restraining the Inspector General of Police, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, the Director General of the DSS and the Lekki Concession Company from allowing or granting permission to them for the said rally. In papers put before the court, they argued that the Obi Dati rally is predicated on the NSAS rally of 2020 and that failure to restrain the Labour Party and its supporters would amount to another display of great destruction to lives and property. For them, a repeat of the protest under the guise of Obi Dati rally will also result in a post-traumatic stress disorder for them and many other members of the public. At the proceedings on Wednesday, counsel to Peter Obi asked the court to allow him move his application, challenging the jurisdiction of the court to hear the injunction. The counsel to the plaintiffs, Romeo Michael, was however quick to object. He noted that the business of the day was to hear his application, which was ripe for hearing. The court agreed with him, especially as some other parties in the suit had not been served with a preliminary objection challenging the court's jurisdiction. In his ruling on the interlocutory injunction, Justice Daniel Osiago did not stop the planned rally. He, however, ordered that the Labour Party and its supporters cannot gather at the Lekki toll gates. The police was also ordered to ensure compliance with this order.
At the end of the day, parties agreed that the respondents, Peter Obi and supporters, should only pass through the Lekki toll gate and come to Falamo Bridge, but they should not converge at Lekki toll gate. So that was a repressive order. It's fair for everyone in this country, Nigeria.
In fact, for your information, on the 1st of October, the same rally will be taking place in the United Kingdom, in America, and all parts of the country. So it has nothing to do with the NSAS. These are the handwork of the political opponents of the Labour Party.
The court has adjourned hearing of the substantive suit to November 4th. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, that story is our next pick this morning, and Monday Ubani, as you can see, joins us to discuss this. He is Chairman, Section of Public Interest and Development Law, Pres'l of the NBA. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Ayo, thank you.
Exactly what do you make of this judgment? Speak to the legality and, should I say, the morality of it?
You know, the matter is still in court. I think the court adjourned to sometime in November. By that time, the matter would have become academic. It's much ado about nothing. Under the Electoral Act, you know, there is time for campaign. I think campaign kick-started yesterday. And I don't think any person has any power under our law to stop any of the political parties to hold rallies or to start their campaigns. Disobedient, they've been doing this rally all over the country. But this is the first time a particular, certain persons, we want to go to court in order to stop them from proceeding on the rally on the basis of NSA's crisis.
Is it stopping the rally itself, or stopping the rally from holding at that particular location?
No, that was not the. They wanted to stop the rally completely. That any rally being held in honor of Obediat and all that is clearly a remembrance of what took place on 28th of October 2020. That is NSA's crisis. They didn't. That is also why I was wondering. Was there any time they wanted to use Lekki Toll Gate 1 as the venue for the rally? Was there any mention of remembering the NSA's incident that happened in 2020 with this particular rally? Was there any such announcement? And so I couldn't understand why people went to court, because they were now saying, that holding Obi rally in Lagos is clearly a remembrance of what happened in 2020, and linking it, because they've been doing it all over the federation. And we didn't know of any linking it to NSA's anniversary or rally. It's purely a political process, and we're in a political era towards 2023, and they've been doing it all over the country. They did it in Abuja. I think I was in Abuja when that last Saturday when it took place. The policemen even guided them and all that. And it happened successfully, and nobody made reference to NSA. So I don't know why coming to Lagos now, the issue of NSA has now become an issue. And meanwhile, those who led the NSAS crisis are not even the one who are involved in this rally that is taking place on 1st of October. You remember that there is a guy that even started the process. It's not even with the Labour Party. So I don't know how the link, comes about. But the point is much ado about nothing, because the judgment is to the fact that the rally will go on. But the only point is that you don't converge at Lekki Toll Gate, yes.
But perhaps the suit and the judgment is on the strength of the fact that, that Lekki Toll Gate has become a symbol of the agitation of Nigerian youths for justice, for fairness, good governance, good policing, and anything in the form of a rally that converges at that point could trigger, some of the sentiments of that time. But
that was not the intention of those who went to court. What they went to court, in order to ask the court to say, look, they shouldn't hold any rally at all, because the issue of holding the rally is linked to NSAS. They didn't mention, issue of that they want to use that particular place in order to, remind Nigerians of what took place. So there was no such thing at all. Yes.
I'm wondering, Mr. Obani, how, because you've also often told us, you lawyers have often told us that the judge is not Santa Claus. He's not going to give you something you didn't ask for. So if they didn't have that in their prayers, how would the judge have ruled or given an order that they didn't ask for?
Yeah, that is a very intelligent question. I was also, I read whatever we have is from the newspapers. I have not been able to have the process that was filed by the parties, but going by the report, What they were asking for is that no rally should ever take place. Because if it does, they are going to have what they call post-traumatic distress order, based upon what happened in the NSAS crisis. And of course, when you talk about NSAS crisis, of course, tailgate, comes to mind. There was no time they made a request that they should not converge at that point. So I don't know why the judge now had to say, oh, for the sake of the fact that you guys shouldn't converge there, you can pass, but you can't converge there. I don't know how that judgment come about. But the point is that the matter is still in court. Even though, as I said earlier, it's going to be pure academic, because by that time, the process would have taken place. But it's important we drive this further, even maybe up to Supreme Court. Can any person have the legal capacity to stop supporters from holding a political rally that is governed by Electoral Act? It's a constitutional issue. When election is coming, you have a right to hold rally all over the place. And it's even wrong for some states to deny access to certain venue to political rallies. They've been doing it over time, and it's been going on. Probably nobody wants to, contest it. But this time around, they want to use the court to validate whatever they want to do. But the court now was saying, no, you can't even stop them. Rather, maybe if you are talking about the Lekki toll gate, which was the symbol, let them not converge there. But as I said, they didn't ask for that. The court was now anticipating maybe they want to converge there, but you can pass through it. So to me, it's much ado about nothing, because there is nothing that has actually happened that have actually restrained them from going on with the exercise. The only point now is that don't converge, and I don't think there was any time they mentioned that they want to converge at Lekki toll gate. I don't have that knowledge. I don't have that information. Or whether you do.
If that was part of their prayers,
yes.
Let's assume, yes, for the sake of argument, that was part of the prayers of the people who went to court, the plaintiffs on this matter. What's your take on that? Because just as Bukola said, perhaps the symbolism and the consequences that those people suffered mentally was the reason they went to court and said, Judge, please, whatever rally, it cannot be outlawed. I believe that the lawyers, have been 9 out of 10 of them, know that you can't stop anyone from holding rallies. You can't stop gatherings. But because of an antecedent of 2 years ago, they just thought, look, we suffered significantly on this, those of us who live in this axis. For our sakes and the sake of several others who suffered what we did, let's not do it.
If you file a case in court, the other party has the right to respond. By way, like they came by way of motion, there would have been a counter affidavit on the part of the defendant. But unfortunately, I don't think that took place, because they were arguing that the court has no jurisdiction in the first place. They filed what they call preliminary objection, which the court say it's not right for hearing, because all the parties have not been served. So I would not want to go into the details of this Lekki toll gate, that it will remind you of 2020. Because the defendant would have put in his own counter and said, look, that argument does not stand. One, the people that are holding this rally are not the people that held the Lekki toll gate. Yes, they are different persons entirely. And so there's no way you can now link what they want to do with respect of what took place in 2020. Are you following? But that counter affidavit was not there, because the lawyer was relying on preliminary objection that was not yet right for hearing. So if they have filed counter, the court now will now evaluate the affidavit evidence and say, okay, I'm agreeing or I'm disagreeing. But that was not the case in this instance. So that's why I can't go in deep into that.
And you have made an interesting point, Mr. Ubani, by saying that it's a non-issue, much ado about nothing.
Yes.
Because Nigerians suffered trauma in many parts of Lagos. Exactly. At the heart of the NSAS protests, there were the policemen were decimated. There were killings in some parts of central Lagos. So other plaintiffs could come up and go to court and seek to restrain political parties amid this campaign from holding rallies in other parts of Lagos. What are your thoughts on this? And how can frivolous suits like that be checked?
You see, when I was thinking about this particular case last night, I was saying, look, these guys are giving wrong narrative to what even took place in the NSAS crisis. You and I knew what happened. Why some of the young ones came up and said, no, we are against police brutality. We are against a situation where police will assume that I'm a criminal when he sees me on the road. Everyone is a Yahoo. No. Everyone is entitled to his right. I'm entitled to respect a policeman that I see on the road. So also he's entitled to respect me. Even if I'm a criminal, I'm an accused person, what he does is to arrest me, investigate me, and then charge me to court. He doesn't have any right whatsoever to pronounce me guilty because I'm presumed to be innocent. So these guys said, no, we are against this. And government at that point in time listened. Shawolu himself, the governor of Lagos State, was even there addressing them and said, young men, cool down, this matter will be addressed. And then there was economic council meeting that held, and then panels were set up. I'm sure you are aware 2 or 3 days ago, millions of naira was recommended to be paid to those who were victims of the NSAS, brutality. Yeah. So let's not give a wrong narrative to NSAS crisis. It was an agitation of young ones who felt that this is not the way to run a nation. And government themselves at that time also felt that they were right. Even the president made that pronouncement and said we have disbanded SARS. So anyone now coming to give you a wrong narrative and all that, for the sake of historians, I will not buy into it. Maybe we'll come for another day, maybe on 20th of October, during the anniversary, we'll be able to talk about the narrative of what took place. It was something that is fundamental. It has to do with people's right. As saying government, you must be held accountable. You must be responsible. We are all human beings. You are there for us. You are there to, govern us and not to kill us. So any wrong narrative people are now giving to others about this NSAS crisis, I am not buying into it. And many Nigerians are not buying into it.
And if those suits arise,
yes,
can you trust the courts to strike them out on frivolous grounds?
In fact, in the first place, I wonder whether Federal High Court has jurisdiction over what was even brought before it. That particular case. Federal High Court has a limited jurisdiction under the Constitution, under Section 251. That matter, can the Federal High Court even assume? That is one of the reasons those guys may have brought the preliminary objection. So there are matters that doesn't disclose course of action. You must show course of action. What are you trying to ask the court to do? What is your grievance? What is the issue of grievance? That somebody wants to do a rally, you now begin to make reference to NSAS crisis. It doesn't make sense to me. To me, it is much ado about nothing.
And wherever you turn, it may seem like there's an opposition to the Obi rally. In Ebonyi State, too, there was opposition to the rally, even though the governor denied it. So who are these 10 plaintiffs? Can they be interrogated such that we know the intents and purposes beyond what has been initiated in the court?
If you look at their reliefs, I mean, some of the things they said, so they said the rally will remind them of the incident of the NSAS crisis in 2020, and it will make them to suffer what they call post-traumatic distress disorder. That's a very good language, That's when I heard it, I was laughing. Post-traumatic stress disorder. That is what they said they will suffer. So with the court, evaluate that medical condition. Were there any medical report that was presented, that gives an impression that they have suffered it at that time it happened, that they now will suffer it, because it's post-traumatic. So honestly, to me, it's much ado about nothing. Their names have been known. He would have invited them anyway. The lawyers, you would have brought them to this particular program. So what is it that they want to achieve by that suit? Can they even stop a rally? As I said earlier, that has been provided for under the Electoral Act. It's a constitutional thing. We're in a process of election 2023. Would you have any right whatsoever to stop somebody today from holding from holding rally? Remember what happened in Ebonyi State. Their own is that they were brutal. But here they want to now use an institution, the court, to validate what they want to do. In Ebonyi State, it's condemnable. No person has any right whatsoever to stop any of the political rallies going all over the federation. APC has a right, PDP has a right, LP has a right, all the political parties. Please let people know this and stop all this issue of making something that doesn't want any attention.
A quick one on this, Mr. Obani, before we go. So the court has also ordered the police to enforce compliance to the order. In other words, the protesters, or the campaigners, cannot gather at Lekki Toll Gate that they can pass through Lekki Toll Gate. The police has to enforce that. And as you've also said, the police is also responsible for providing security for those people who are campaigning.
That's right.
Given that the NSAS, they lose attachment of this case to NSAS, had something to do with the police. Is Are you able to get into the psyche of the average policeman
No,
who will have to obey this court order?
Yes, the Constitution, gives them that responsibility to ensure protection of lives and property. Despite what happened in 2022, the policemen have been doing their duty. They've been doing their best in the country. And so I also saw them do that in Abuja and all over the Federation where these rallies are. Even the political parties have kickstarted their rallies. Policemen will always be there to ensure lives and properties are secure. So asking them to do what the court has asked them to do is nothing that is abnormal. They will obey the court order, ensure that they also guide them. It's even good that police is even brought into the matter, that they will now guide this particular rally on 1st of October to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order, to ensure that it's due compliance, that these people will not converge at Lekki Toll Gate. Fine. As I said earlier, I don't know whether they have intention to have done, they wanted to do that. That may not have been in their contemplation. But if it is within their contemplation, now the court order expressly says, don't go there. Okay. And so they must respect that court order. The police must ensure that safety of lives are protected. It's a very good development. If you ask me, at the end of the day, the police now have been brought into the matter to ensure that it's orderliness and all that for the lives of you and I in Lagos.
Okay. We have to thank you very much. As you said, it's the beginning of conversations. Yes. The case is still in court. Let's see how it goes. Monday Ubani, Chairman Pres'l of NBA, thank you so much for being a part of our
Thank you. It's a long time. I see you and seen my lovely sister.
Thank you.
Okay, well, the program has come to an end. I was hoping we'll be able to take a message or two. Clearly, we can't. We have to thank you very much for the privilege of being a part of your morning today. Have a wonderful one. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for letting us share your day today. It seems we have just a minute for some messages.
Okay.
I'll start with this one from Yomi Williams. And he says, does any political group require a court order to stop its convergence at Lekki Toll Gate to campaign for a preferred presidential candidate? Should political rally infringe on people's right to freedom of movement and threat to public infrastructure? I hope this group will not be disobedient to the court order. The campaign train can only walk through the LTG, that's the Lekki Toll Gate. Why threaten the fragile peace? That's Yomi Williams.
This one from Innocent is about, okay, I've signed off, but allow me to take this one. It is funny how people still think the politicians still have influence over the Nigerian masses who have suffered from bad leadership. Political structure won't be relevant this time. You won't pay someone who stood under the sun and rain for hours to get their PVC. 5,000 naira to change his mind on who to vote. The shock coming in 2023 will be massive.
Well, this next one comes from Festus, who says, the 2023 election campaign has begun, but the road to Aso Rock is long, expensive, and bound to be exhausting. Nigeria's voters must not be persuaded through lies and negative campaigning. Nigerians must also hold the candidates accountable, especially in funding.
Interesting thoughts this morning. Don't change your mind after having spent hours on the queue to get your PVC. Thank you for watching. I'm Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Again, I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
And I am Chamberlain, so goodbye.